जयपुर वाया कोटा
कृपया ध्यान आपो अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವವರೇ
Hyderabad Superfast Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন कृपया ध्यान दियो
The beauty of the IPL is it keeps throwing new surprises at us, new young talent, new matchups, new lots of things. But today at the Cricbuzz studio, we've got a new pair for the first time this season. One who made his test debut opposite the man sitting next to him. Then he went on to winning the first Ashes for England in 18 years. And the man next to him took his 300th wicket by getting him out. Please welcome to the studio, gentlemen. Welcome, Michael. Welcome, Polly. How does it feel to be back to the studio? It's been a long time for you.
Yeah, 4 years. It's different. There's a few more lights. This looks like a show back home called Coronation Street. It looks very similar to this set behind me. So you've made me feel very at home.
Does it feel like one of the pubs?
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's it. The Rovers return.
Trust you to know the name.
Polly, did you forget the 300? Because your reaction almost felt like, oh, I forgot that one.
Oh, you got that many.
I used to pick on the captains for my 100 milestones, so I knew it was him. There was a photo taken of me getting it, so that's why I couldn't forget.
What was it? A bowled at LBW?
Outside edge.
Outside edge, yeah.
Court Gibbs, I think it was.
But there was a big celebration, I remember, after the 300, because I remember you being carried on, if I'm not wrong. A big celebration.
Yeah, well, we probably a few half baths. That was all. It was at the Oval, I think. It was the Oval Test match.
All right, guys, we've got you all here. It is a special day today because the table toppers take on each other. Lucknow take on Rajasthan today. And it's going to be an exciting game because we are going to Jaipur for the first time. They haven't played in Jaipur since 2019. That's what we spoke about. So Rajasthan sitting pretty with 8 points, Lucknow at 6 points. So both teams obviously want to pick up those 2 points today.
Yeah, I mean, Rajasthan have been very consistent at the top of the league. I just like the way that they've made up their side. I thought last year Kumar Sangakkara coming in, they got their selections right, they got their picks right, and they've got experience. They've got Josper up the top, Sanju, Shemron Hatmar, 3 real quality experienced batters. Then you throw a few youngsters in there, and then they've got the experienced spin twins. They've got Trent Bolt, Jason Holder's been missing, but again, a lot of leaders in a group, which can only help the captain Sanju Samson.
Polly, well, LSG lost to Punjab the last game, which they should have won. Rajasthan, of course, coming in with that confidence of what they did to GT and Hetmyer doing what Hetmyer does, finishing off games. But Lucknow will be low on confidence coming into this game?
I don't know if low on confidence, but disappointed with the way the last game went for them. And we've discussed it many times in this RPL, is that you can't afford to get on that losing sort of run. If you lose one, you need to bounce back as quickly as possible. Otherwise, you start to doubt team selection. People start looking around like what can they or can't they do differently. So important game for them. I think it's going to be a difficult one. Rajasthan play nicely on their home ground. It's a different kind of surface too. The ground is just that little bit bigger, so you have to run your 2s and 3s. With the quality spin attack that Rajasthan have got, they can't just look to whack it out the ground. It's not that easy on that ground. Often you see guys getting caught in the fence. So Rajasthan will be looking at this as an opportunity to start building their little fortress. They're in a good position now. They've got a run of games at home. And this is their chance to really apply that pressure to LSG. So, yeah, we're waiting to see if they got our emails from last night about team selection and whether my South African gets included or not. But I'm sure you'll let us know when everything's done and dusted.
Yeah, we will, just in time. But Rajasthan's won the toss. They've decided to bowl first.
Surprise.
Almost that pattern of whoever wins the toss bowls first. But what can we expect from the pitch today? Because I don't think anyone has any clue, considering it's 4 years since they've played there.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right. I mean, you can look at history, you can look at 4 years ago and beyond. It used to be a 170 kind of pass score kind of surface, but I'm with Polly. I think the dimensions of the ground suit the spinners. When you've got quality spinning, you've got big boundaries, you've got that chance to just throw the ball in the air that little bit longer to try and tempt the batter to try and whack the ball out the ground, and then you get opportunities with the wickets. So Rajasthan to me looked like a franchise that they won it the first year many years ago. Then they had a real period of where they were disappointing in the last 2 years, getting to the final last year. They've got their selections right, and I think that experience and that know-how, getting to the final last year, I'm not just saying it, but I have picked them to win it this year. And I'm sticking by it because of that experience. I just think experience plays a big part in all formats of the game, but particularly in T20 cricket now.
You know, you spoke about the big spinners that Rajasthan has, but both the teams have really big hitters from the Caribbean, because there is Nicholas Pooran and there's Hetmeyer. Hetmeyer, of course, you know, he just, in the 5 games he's played, 4 games he's come and finished it off for the team. He's spoken about how he likes his butter chicken and butter naan. Clearly, he leaves room for dessert because he likes the sweet taste of victory.
Yeah, you got to be careful what you admit to eating these days. You know, you got to be slim, trim, and to the point. But there's his season, and it's been really impressive. I mean, the strike rate, have a look at what he's done, and the times he's come in late in the innings, and he just gets it all done for them. So, played a brilliant innings. Who would have thought they would have got over the line the other night when they lost?
55 for 4, that's what they were at.
Yeah, when they lost all those early wickets, we thought done and dusted. You know, maybe they'll have half a hope. They won with 4 balls to spare, and that was all down to his striking at the back end there. So, yeah, as a left-hander too. Him and Pooran weren't in the West Indies squad, so they weren't in South Africa just a couple of months ago. So we didn't get to see them, and you always sit there when you watch some of the other guys play. I think they ended up beating us, so I won't say too much. But you do think to yourself, why are they not included? Because we've seen such quality. I just think they've got an understanding, and I think they fit nicely into the setups that they're part of here in the RPL. And maybe they don't quite fit in as well as they would in the West Indies.
You know, Michael, just a little bit more on Hetmeyer, because he seems to be this typical Caribbean lad who sits and is just relaxed. When he's asked stuff in his interview, he's just like, oh, it's all very simple. You know, when he was asked, how do you chase down these targets? He said, I just practice it. But how do you practice chasing down targets? What exactly was he trying to say?
Well, I think he's having options. And he's got options to hit sixes all the way around the ground. I mean, he's got that option. He can hit it over extra cover, down the ground, over cow corner. He's got the pull shot.
Well, one shot that he hasn't got is he wants to learn how to play the reverse sweep from your boy, Joss Butler.
Yeah, if he can, that'll be the kind of full package. But he's doing okay without that at the minute. I think in T20 cricket, someone like Shemron Hetmeyer and Nicholas Pooran, those middle-order players from 5 and 6 that can come in and strike it pretty much from ball 1. I think if you're building a team, if you can start with someone in that middle that can do that. At the top of the order, there's lots of players that can. There's not many as good as Joss Butler, but there's lots of players that can go out there and target the first 6 when all the fielders are in, the ball's fresh and it's hard. There's only a small few that can come in at 5, 6 and 7 and really strike it from ball 1. And that's why Shemron Hetmeyer and Nicholas Pooran are so valuable for these two franchises, because you go back to the last game against Gujarat, Rajasthan had lost that game. And then all of a sudden he starts to get his mojo. Sanju Samson played a great knock as well, the captain. But when you've got players that can do the unexpected in that middle order, when the ball's a bit softer, it doesn't get that soft, but a little bit softer, and the pitch is just grabbing a little bit more than it was at the start, they're the kind of teams that I look for in terms of winning competitions when they've got that kind of player in the middle. MS Dhoni used to do it all the time for Chennai. Shimron Hetmeyer's doing a very similar thing for Rajasthan this year.
Yeah, touching on that point, that the Rajasthan ground is one of those ones, when we played there, it's one of those grounds where the ball does get a little bit softer than some of the other grounds around the world. I don't know why. I don't know if it wears when it whacks the wicket and gets a little bit softer. So it is even more difficult to get those big boundaries. So it'll be interesting to see if they use that to their advantage.
And just on Pooran and Hetmeyer not being in the West Indies team, the World Cup is here in a few months' time. I would be amazed if these two players aren't in their team.
Well, they're proving their worth. When if there are people watching, they're watching the IPL. We'll all be wondering why they're not in the team. So I guess they're just knocking on the
just get him a pencil now and just kind of writing a couple of names down. Maybe if I was in charge of West Indies cricket.
They can only play 20 overs, and 50 overs is too many overs.
Yeah, but 20 is enough if they play at that strike rate and the way they play.
What was the food that you say that Hetmeyer has? What does he have?
Butter chicken and butter naan is what he likes.
Look, if he has another couple of those, he can play 50 overs. He'll be fine.
Yeah. But a little bit on Pooran, because even he's been very impressive in the middle order. We'll get some numbers on that in the middle overs. But Pooran's someone who, again, the other day he got that 62. He was hitting it hard. For someone who looks so tiny, I really wonder how he manages to hit it so big.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's deceptive. He's obviously got the muscles and he's got the strike power. And, that job he did the other day, was it against the RCB?
Yes,
that when he took them down? Yeah. It was, that was also a game where we thought, this is no chance. And there's just a bit of a self-belief with these guys these days. And he's got it. He's striking it well. His average is really good. People aren't getting him out. And he was really bitterly disappointed, which was something I really liked to see when he walked off. You could see he was cross because he didn't get them over the line. He didn't do the final job, and that's the desire. And once you've got that desire, I think that's where you're dangerous, because he's got the abilities, the skills, the way to be able to smash it. But mentally, when you get into a good space of wanting to be the finisher, that's when you become a dangerous individual.
He's got that, you look at Brian Lara when he used to just get in his stance, it just all looked natural. Pooran's very similar. He just kind of gets in his stance, and you can watch him and look at him and think he's almost been born to play cricket and born to bat. That swing of the willow, he's just got a pure swing. He's a really high-class player. And I totally agree with Pollock. When I see players get disappointed when they don't see their team over the line, and you can see that in his eyes that he really should have been there at the end. You know that they've got some kind of power that's just about to kind of arriving. He's a beautiful player to watch. He's just natural, very, very natural. But I think natural only takes you so far. You need a little bit more. You need that inner kind of strength and that inner kind of power, and he seems to be getting that as well.
And well, they have backed him because Gautam Gambhir said that his form last season was not that good, but we're not backing him to get those 400-500 runs. We just want him to come and finish games off. If it's those 3 and 4 important games, that's all we want Pooran to do. So clearly they've backed him and given him that confidence.
Yeah, I think when you purchase your players or you look at your squad, you're thinking, okay, how many? We probably need to win 8 games in order to qualify for the knockouts. Which of these individuals can win me 1 or 2? And if he can win them 2 games, by the way he plays, he's almost done 1 already, or probably has done 1 already. That's what you're kind of after. And there's certain roles that you play. You don't always have to be the guy who gets the big amount of runs. But if it gets to the pressure situation, you hold your nerve, you smash it out the ground, you get them over the line, and a little bit of a match-winning performance. That's what you want. So you want to pick 4 or 5 guys who each going to have a man-of-match performance, and then you've got your 5-6 games, and you're almost into the knockouts. And I think that's maybe the attitude that they're taking towards the thought process with him.
All right, so the South African in the house is not going to be very happy.
Oh, he didn't get picked again? Oh, he's on the sidelines.
Oh, we should. So both the Englishman and the South African in the house, they're not going to be happy, but no Mark Wood, no Quinton de Kock. Surprise there?
Yeah, I mean, Mayers has had a good start, so Quinton misses out because of the start that Mayers has had at the top of the order, I guess. But Mark Wood with that fifer early on in the tournament. You talk about players that can win you the game. All right, he's been hit around in a couple of other games, but you're looking at trying to win games. When you've got individuals, Quinton's one of those players that I think he certainly is a player that I would be putting in most teams. But because of the start that Mayers has had, he's struggling. But Mark Wood's a match winner. Whether he's got a niggle, he's had a lot of niggles in his time. He might have a niggle, and they're trying to.
I'm going niggle.
Yeah, he keeps falling when he bowls. So
well, he's done that for years. That's his kind of DNA. But he must have a niggle because he's certainly a match winner.
Well, we have to talk about Quinton de Kock not being in the playing 11. It almost feels like, Rahul and de Kock had a great past, and then Quinton de Kock didn't come to India, so he found a new relationship with Mayers. So now he's not being able to go and start dating Quinton de Kock again because they're just not being able to get the pair together.
Well, we won't be giving a relationship advice, but what we might say is that, I do get the fact that they've been loyal to the fact that Mayers was here earlier. He got those 2 big scores. I think he got a man-of-the-match performance in one of them. And maybe now with Wood not playing, maybe they want a little bit of fast bowling. When I say fast bowling, that little shape of his up front, that could maybe be the reason behind it as well. If he can get them 2 overs in that power play, keeper up to the stump, ball swinging through the air, it's a better option than Quinny, who obviously can't bowl. But when I look at it, as I was saying last night, is that you just get the feeling that if you're going to go the whole way in the tournament, your consistency and your performances are more likely to come from Quinton. Because what we've seen from him around the world and for an extended period of time. Yes, we know the fireworks that Mayers can bring, but I would think at some stage if you back de Kock to get back to his best form, I think he would be the one I'd be banking on. But as I said, I can't afford to give too much of an opinion as a South African. I might be biased.
I just wonder if that little in-swinger that he can bowl might be something that they target Buttler with.
Yeah,
Buttler at the top of the order. He doesn't have many weaknesses, but that ball that comes back, you can get over the wicket right arm and just get the ball to manoeuvre back from around just outside off onto around middle and off. You have a slight chance early against Jos Buttler if you get it right. If you get it wrong, obviously you can pretty much travel. But that is a delivery that has damaged Jos Buttler in the past.
I'm trying to get my mind right. I think in the SA20 they played against each other. I'm trying to remember. It was obviously the first month of the year.
It was the
I think he could have done a bit of a job to him, so that might be the plan. I mean, last throw of the dice for him, and before they get Quinny back, just do this job against.
We'll have a look at Rajasthan's playing 11 because we will have to come to Butler a little later because they're bowling first because they heard our pre-match show. I mean, our post-match show yesterday because Zampa's out and Holder is in.
There you go. They got that email.
They got that email.
The Rajasthan got the email. But that's a nice balance, isn't it? I mean, in that last game with the 3 spinners, there was a lot of pressure put on Sandeep Sharma to come and deliver. I mean, Trent Bolt, he does it day in and day out, but Sandeep with that lack of pace, I mean, he's shown a wonderful versatility and ability at the back end here to be able to do the death bowling option. But I just felt the 3 of the spinners was a little bit one-dimensional. So to have the extra option of Holder, the extra bounce he brings, you can use him in the power play because they were stuck after, 3 or 4 overs. They didn't really know which option to go to. Ashwin's the only one who's really comfortable bowling in the power play. Zampa's not. Chahal's not. So I think this just makes it look a little bit better. And then the extra little bit of striking ability. You can't turn that or turn your nose up to that.
Just a little bit more on Sandeep Sharma because he was extremely impressive. I don't know if you managed to catch the game where he was cooler than Captain Cool because he managed to not let the last ball go for a 6. Sandeep Sharma has spoken about how Malinga, he gives all credit to Malinga. He's been kind of practicing those Yorkers with Malinga. It's almost like if you have a Shaun Pollock teaching you how to bowl line and length, you will get it right in the game. So that's what he's gone and said, that it's Malinga, it's just me kind of doing what he's taught me out of the field.
Yeah, I mean, that's great for him to give the coach a lot of credit, but ultimately it's down to him to deliver. I'm sure Lassie has given him some great tips of what you look at when you bowl that Yorker. But when you think that Lassie was coming from here, so he's coming from a little bit high, it's harder kind of to copy something that Lassie did for so many years. But it's great to have these mentors. Pretty much throughout the whole of the IPL history, there's always been legends sat in the dugout. Great players, and that's why the IPL is such a great tournament for all these players to pick the brains of, not just the legendary ex-players that are in the dugout, but pretty much all the best players in the world. That's why it's such a great tournament for all players. But I'm really impressed by him because he's got skill. One thing that you need in this tournament and in any T20 league in the world is skill. You've got to be able to manoeuvre the ball. You've got to have different slow balls. You've got to have your different Yorkers. You've got to have your slow ball bouncers. And he's pretty much got all those kind of tricks in his locker.
It would have been interesting to know the discussion. I remember when Mully was at Mumbai and I was trying to work out, so he had kind of lost his away swinger up front. So he was brilliant at the death bowl, we all knew about that, but he had this wonderful ability to clean up left-handers up front. He got his in-swingers going. And you just think to yourself how naturally a Yorker came to him. So now how does he put himself in the shoes of Sandeep Sharma who bowls from nice and upright? And I actually tried the same thing. So when he had lost this away swing, I went down to the nets one day, and before that come, I was like bowling 5 or 6 or 7 deliveries, as round arm as I could get it, to try and work out what could be Mully's issue. And even when you get into that position, I can't
even imagine you bowling that action. I just can't imagine.
When everyone was watching, they were going, that looks like bolt upright. It doesn't look like it's coming. But it was still the wrist position. And I think some of the advice that he would have given him would have been the wrist position to get it to shape in. But also, if you remember that over, he got him to bowl around the wicket. And because he bowls slightly wide and gets into the arc this way, it was a brave decision, but it actually was very effective. So that's the kind of advice that someone like a Malinga will be getting him. Maybe change your angles, try and work it and get it a little bit lower and shaping in. So, yeah, all these, I just wonder how the communication, obviously, it was difficult to communicate with Mully because his English wasn't the best, but I'm sure he's found a way of getting it through as the new coach.
Well, he's a man of very few words, but those words were enough to get Sharma and get them past that line. But do you think that he will be able to swing the ball a lot more today, considering the conditions in Jaipur?
Again, we'll have to wait and see, but, it's a night game. If the ball's going to swing, it generally swings a little bit more in the evening. I don't think it'll swing a huge amount. I haven't seen many IPL games in the history where the ball's hoop for 8 or 10
The other day when Gujarat was playing, it was moving around.
Just for a few overs.
For the first 4 overs.
Yeah, if you get movement in T20 cricket, you've got to maximise it because it's not going to last long.
Yeah, there's a few grounds you might be able to get. Jaipur's nice and dry, so sometimes they do get a bit of shape. But an interesting fact is the South Africans came back from their one-day series that they played here in India, and they brought home, must have been 10 or 20 balls that they'd been given. And it was ones with the Indian logo on, so especially made to come over here. And Wayne Parnell got me over and said, have a look at this compared to our balls. And I was like, well, what? So he showed me. And because they're the new ones, they put this extra little bit of plastic on and extra little lacquer. He was hooping it around corners in South Africa in the warm-up. And then he took the ball that they had been given by the South Africans, which were a year a bit later. And there was no movement whatsoever. So this new ball that they're using in the RPL, that they started last year, is definitely got a little bit more to it. And as we say, it's only for the 1 over or 2. But even someone like a Trent Bolt, we'll see the impact of it. They might just be able to get that movement. And as I say, the nature of Jaipur with the dryness, you do sometimes get it to swing through the air. So we'll have to watch for that.
You know, the memory for KL Rahul, he would want to forget was last year when Trent Bolt came in and got him with that beauty on the first ball. Rahul comes in, there's been, Michael, a lot of discussion over strike rate, not only in the Cricbuzz studios, but pretty much everywhere. Rahul did get that 75 in the last game, but it was out of 56 balls, the strike rate was 132. He's not been able to really fire at the top. Do you think that is a problem area for Lucknow?
Well, the second in the league, so other areas of their team has been working. I think his last innings of 74, strike rate of 132, that's probably his kind of DNA. That's what you'd expect from KL Rahul. Before that, he'd struggled. You know, as a batter, you can have those periods where, you know, you're not quite seeing the ball out of the hand as quickly. You know, you lose a bit of confidence. You start thinking, oh, I'll just get in. The one thing in T20 cricket now, if they want to go on and win it, you've got to be brave. You know, and even if you have a game or two where you don't get numbers in terms of your own score, you've still got to be looking to score quickly. You know, I think it's a different world that we're in now. Look at, you know, the power play. I'm going back 4, 5, 6 years ago. If you'd have been 50 to 55 in the power play on a good pitch, you'd go, that's a good start. I now think it's gone to 65, 70 on good pitches. You know, I think the game's moved on that far. I think the players have got that much better. I think the players have got that much more skill in terms of hitting the ball, knowing where to strike it. I think they've seen pretty much every delivery from all bowlers now around the world. So I think KL Rahul, if Lucknow are to go on and win it, that last innings of 70 odd off a strike rate of 132, that's where he's got to be, and a little bit probably more. 140, 145 strike rate with a few players in that middle cameoing, then you get to some big numbers. But he's too good a player to be striking at what I saw at the first start, 111, 80. He's far too good for that.
Michael's giving us insight into his prediction, you see? Hey?
Yes.
You're looking for 60 off 6.
I was paying close attention there. I was
David.
paying close attention.
No, but KL's batting, so it won't be. I'm not
No, but
joking.
the only other thing too you've got to throw into the mix is the partnership. And
Yes.
if you have a look who's batting at the other side to him, I mean, those strike rates, even if Quinny had come back in, they are up at 160, 170. So it kind of balances each other out. And I think he's almost taken a backward step with regards to, okay, well, you be the one that goes, Maz. You don't play it any other way. Maz doesn't just knock it around. He goes hard. So I know everyone in India is very concerned, and I just think they're becoming a little bit obsessed. I just like adaptability, and he needs to play according to the partnership and also according to the surface. So I do get it, and overall he needs to be up there by the 130s, 140s.
But I do think, Polly, in Indian cricket, I do think, and this isn't a dig, but it's just from where I see it, I think individual players are a lot more looking at their score, so their own personal number, rather than what they're striking at. And I think in T20 cricket, it's almost the opposite. You really have to have a high strike. If you're going to win big tournaments, you've got to have a group of players that are willing to just take risks. And I see Indian players who are brilliant, have got all the scots, have got all the skills, but almost play within themselves and play safe too early. I think they can be a bit riskier a little bit earlier to get that strike rate a bit higher.
But you know, Rahul the other day said, like, everyone's asking these questions. So most of the cricketers are defending their strike rate. So Rahul the other day post the match said that, you know, we have very roles given to each one in the team. So we know what our roles are, and I'm playing by the role that I've been given in the team. So his defense is, like you said, when there is, well, no Quinton de Kock this time, but there's a Mayors going crazy on the other end. He's taking it slowly in the beginning. So that's pretty much where they're coming from, is what the defense was.
Yeah, I just think the game's moving on a little bit from actually having roles. So in many ways, there can be a bit of a role from time to time, but it's the bigger sides are just getting 6 or 7 together and saying, keep going.
Just
keep
go.
going. Yeah. So, I mean, I can understand it in franchise cricket. When you come together internationally, then maybe you just got to play and everyone tries to whack it as hard as you can. But maybe he feels the responsibility of still trying to keep or be the glue that keeps the innings together.
You need 7 or 8 Ferraris.
Well, like,
You don't need any Skodas. Not disrespecting Skodas, by the way, but you need a few Ferraris in there.
What are Skodas?
They're slow. Far too slow.
I think it's an Opel in South Africa.
You don't need any Skodas in T20 cricket.
no, I mean, especially against this team, considering the openers there are going completely crazy with Butler and Jaiswal who come in and just, like you said, it's a 65-75 power play is what they go for.
Yeah, and Jay as well, I think, I saw it on social media, was it yesterday, that Josh Butler was working in practice out in the middle, just helping him out and giving him options about certain lines where you can hit it. And I think that's where a partnership's fantastic, where you've got I think he's the #1 player in the world in T20 cricket. I think he's incredible, Butler, but he's willing to pass on that information. That's where the IPL and these leagues are tremendous for all these younger players that can come through. To think that Jaswal's got the chance to pick the brains of Josh Butler, not only pick the brains, but to walk out and bat with him and just learn from him, that can only do his game a huge amount of good.
Yeah, Jaiswal's spoken about this a lot, and he said how his relationship with Butler is something he really looks forward to every IPL, and I think he gifted him a bat as well.
Yeah,
a few years
Well, I
ago.
know Joe. He absolutely loves the Rajasthan Royals. You know, he loves coming over here with his family. I think all the franchises look after all the players tremendously well, but Rajasthan seem to have created this real family vibe, particularly in the last couple of years. And Butler just loves being in India. He obviously likes the wickets. He likes striking the ball. I mean, that strike rate there of 143, an average of 54. That's ridiculous in a format of the game where you're taking huge risks pretty much all the time. I mean, the risk that he took the other day is a risk that he'll take again today, where he kind of went to play the scoop early. He was bold, but that won't stop him playing it again today if he feels that's the right option to take it on.
Yeah, that was my thought when we were talking about Hetmeyer. It's like, well, he got out playing that, and Hetmeyer was trying to learn that shot from him. Don't do it, just keep playing straight.
But you know, one area for Lucknow, I feel, which they would want this guy to click is Huda, because at 3 last year he did really well. They want him to be that 450, 500 player. This year, unfortunately, the numbers, he hasn't done justice to that position.
Yeah, that's the pressure. I mean, we've often discussed on the show too, it's your top 3 or 4. If you get those 3 or 4 firing, you're always competing in the tournament, because it is a batter-obsessed league. You know, the guys at the top can dictate terms and they can take you to victory. So the fact that they're number 3, who they would have at the start of the season thought, well, this was the performance we saw last year. Can we take him to the next level? He's taken a little bit of a step or 2 backwards. But I've enjoyed what I've seen from him over the years, and I think it can only be a matter of time. And they'll be starting to talk. I mean, you've got to be a great spin doctor as a coach or management. So you've got to put in his mind, well, we're back in Jaipur. So this is the opportunity for you to do something.
This is the hardest format. When you lose, you look at those numbers, he's lost a little bit of confidence. You know, his strike rates, because he's not been out there long enough. You look at 17 off 18 in the first game, 2 off 6. You know, you can see those strike rates are nowhere near what he'd want them to be. But I do think T20 cricket is the one format, when you have numbers like that, it's the hardest format to get back into form, because in 50 over cricket, you could say, I'll just give myself 20, 30 balls to get in. In test match cricket, you can just give yourself time. I'll just try and bat for an hour, try and bat the session and see where it takes me. In T20 cricket, you have to go out and play risky shots. And if those risky shots, you're just going through one of those periods where the first risky shot you take on, you know, someone takes a catch or you just don't quite get it right. I would think this format in particular is the one that can really play on your mind, because he's now in that position. Does he go out and play ultra risky to try and get himself to 10, 15, 20 quickly? Or does he say to himself, right, I'm just going to give myself 10 balls to get in, get used to conditions, then bat myself to catch up after that? But that's a massive risk, because if you don't catch up, you're not doing the service for your team. So I do think this format is a really hard format to get back into form when you're looking at those numbers that he's had already in this tournament.
Yeah, well, the impact player makes it even harder, because there are just options there. You know, Rajasthan's, just to give you an update, Rajasthan won the toss. They've decided to bowl first. We'll have a look at both the impact player lists, because Rajasthan came out with the bowling first, of course. So we should expect Devdutt Padikkal to come in the second innings, I'd guess. And with Lucknow, do you feel there will be a Amit Mishra or Unadkat depending on the conditions?
Yeah, I think Unadkat. Now, the fact that they aren't playing wood, I think that would probably be the option. Or maybe if it turns, you say, okay, Mishra, in you come. But we always get these 5 names. They only use 1 or 2.
Yeah, it's just to add-
it's like an overkill. We need to just get... You've only got 1 substitute and he's going to come in back.
Is it like football that all 5 names get paid? Oh. So if you're on the bench in football, you actually get a bit of money. Is it the same in the IPL?
Oh, I don't
Maybe.
think so.
Maybe you get a 20% bonus.
You get
if
a bit of cash for just being on one of the 5, but you're not going to play.
We're going to put this in the joy factor question. The next time we'll ask Mr. Joy Bhattacharya to answer it. But it's time to look at joy factors question for the day because we can't do without it every day. The question today is if it happened for the first time on the 15th of May 2008, the second time on the 21st of May 2011, when did it happen for the third time? Whatever the it is.
So what's 15th? Was that the first game?
No, it wasn't. 18th April was the first week. Celebrated the birthday yesterday.
Oh, yesterday, of course.
So we're in April, not May.
15th.
We're not in. You've got a month. You've got a month.
I'm
You're
thinking
in the wrong month.
Sure, yeah. 15th. I mean, he can't even tell me where I got the risotto from, but he asked these questions. I mean, really. 15th of May, 18th of
Michael, we know you've just come in today, so we'll not
To
ask
be
you
honest
to
with
task
you,
your brain.
I don't even
Put it
look,
up again.
I don't even look at his questions anymore.
Put it up again, put it up again. Let me read one more time. If it happened the first time, 15 May, 8. Second time, 11.
So it's obviously something in the IPL.
It's got to be
Yes,
something
that it
to
is.
something to do with Jaipur.
Oh. A hat trick.
It was obviously not 100 because that happened a lot earlier than that. Thanks
We'll
for nothing, Joy.
We'll find out about
Yeah.
this. Let's not put too much of our brain power to it right now because if we put
I
our
wouldn't
brain
think
power,
I'm really going to add to anyone's thoughts on that.
we need to put all our brain power to our prediction game
Yes.
because it's a tradition, a ritual which we have to follow and we take very seriously. Because you've come in first. I mean, come in today, you go first.
You mean I'm like the net tester.
So you've gone
here.
60 of 6.
I'm the net tester. No, not with the...
You have?
Yeah, if Rajasthan were buying. I'm going to go 163.
Wow, that's from 60 in the power
but-
play to
but
160.
If Rajasthan had been batting first, it'd have been
Okay.
60 in the power play, but it won't because it
I
looked
just think it's a very negative approach.
163.
I'll raise him by 14. I'll go 177.
163 is what you said. 163, 177. I'm just stuck because I can't go in the middle, so I'll have to go higher. That's the worst thing about going in third.
Well, you could
that
go
only start.
170s in the middle if you really wanted.
Okay, I'm going to go with 180. That's what I'm going to do. So, oh no, wait, Rajasthan's bowling. I take that back. I'm going to go with 170. Yeah.
Okay.
So 163, 170, 177. Those are the numbers that we've got. Now we have to do a very important thing. We've not managed to get Shaun Pollock his risotto. So we are going to quickly go out and find that risotto. Mr. Bhattacharya, if you're watching, please respond and tell us where you ordered it from. You all guys order your food, get your food ready and join us at the 10 hour point at the Cricbuzz com box. See you all soon.
Jaipur via Kota,
कृपया ध्यान आपको अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
ಲಕ್ನೋ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವವರೇ
Hyderabad Superfast Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন कृपया ध्यान दें